Swinson.
Thank you very much, Madam Deputy Speaker, and I would like to thank the Right Honourable and Learned Lady for the courtesy of having prior sight of the statement, and also to use this opportunity to welcome her to her position. She does have an impressive track record of working on women's issues, and I do very much hope she will be a strong advocate in government for women on a wide range of issues. In this statement, she has rightly put support for families up front. And indeed, I would argue this is one of the biggest challenges facing women today, balancing their family responsibilities and their work commitments. Although I would also add this is an issue for men as well. And we shouldn't just be pigeonholing this as a women's issue. Indeed, we're probably going to only be able to conquer these problems when men are engaged with the changes that are required too. On the pay gap, the figures have been quoted, 12.6% in terms of full-time work, 40% in terms of part-time work, and obviously we need to do more to reduce this. So I would ask the Minister if she would be considering extending equal pay audits to the private sector. On flexible working, in the paper that has been published today alongside the statement, it says that the government is considering extending flexible working to parents of older children. Does this mean up to the age of 18? And would the Minister actually go further and accept that extending the right to request flexible working to all would help to change our working culture and also reduce some of the resentment which can be created when some colleagues have the opportunity to request flexibility and others cannot? Clearly, affordable childcare is an important part of this, and I welcome the government's moves to make childcare more affordable. But I would just ask, are there new resources being announced to facilitate this? And if not, how does the Minister expect that this will be able to be achieved? I do actually agree with the Right Honourable Lady for Maidenhead that the part that was missing from the family section of this statement was about women's pensions. Obviously today, later on, we are debating the pensions bill, and there are some very welcome improvements for women who have taken time out to care for family. But these will only be applied after the 6th of April in 2010. And the difference that will make to women reaching the pension age the day before is effectively that they lose out on £27,000 worth of pension entitlements. So I would urge the Minister to comment on whether she thinks that is fair, and also to suggest that if we really are going to be fair to women on pensions, surely it's time the government went one step further and based pensions on residency rather than national insurance contributions, because even under the new plans, women with fewer than 30 years national insurance contributions will not be entitled to a full pension. On violence against women, it's important, and I think it's welcome to see that there's a lot of cross-government working planned on this initiative. The End Violence Against Women campaign has been scoring the government on this, and it got 1 out of 10 in 2005 and 2 out of 10 in 2006, so hopefully it's a trend that's on the up. I very much do hope that this will lead to better cross-departmental working on this, because that is what the campaign has said has been missing, even though there's been individual strategies which have been in place, for example, on domestic violence. So I hope the Minister will just be able to outline what steps she'll be taking to create that integrated strategy involving all departments to tackle violence against women rather than a piecemeal approach. Obviously, the moves on women in prisons are very welcome. We will, of course, be scrutinising the government on the delivery and the actions actually taken on this, but given the situation that so many women prisoners are in, 4 in 5 of them have a mental illness, it really is urgent that this situation is tackled, and we'll certainly give the government support on doing so. On trafficking, it's very welcome that the government has now signed the European Convention and indeed is planning the new legislation which is needed to implement the actions necessary to deal with this problem. And of course the advertisements read out from the newspaper are quite shocking and horrific to us all, I'm sure. But I would still ask that while all of these things are being put in place, it would be helpful for the House to have some idea of roughly when the treaty could be the convention could be expected to be ratified. I'm sure we would all welcome that information. And finally, on the issue of Black and Asian women in communities across the UK, it's well documented that Black and Asian women suffer more discrimination than white women or Black and Asian men, so it's clearly an important issue for the government to tackle. However, the CRE have recently expressed disappointment about the discrimination law review, and they're very concerned that there may be proposals to wrap the equality duties into one single duty, but this may end up being a weaker duty. So I wonder what reassurance the Minister can give that new proposals to simplify existing equalities legislation will actually not result in a rolling back of or a weakening of the current race and gender equality duties.
Harriet Holland.
Can I welcome the Honourable Lady to her new position and say that I look forward to working with her. And I thank her for her comments about the long years, decades of work that I've done in this area, but I would say that my honourable friend, the member for Stevenage, and myself do not find ourselves on our own taking forward this agenda, as well as the many men on our side of the House who are supportive of this agenda. We have 97 women Labour members of Parliament who will make absolutely sure that this issue is taken forward. She rightly says that this is an issue for men as well as women, and it is certainly the case, as I mentioned in relation to unequal pay, is that if a new baby comes along and he is earning so much more than the mother is, then he has to work increased hours to bring home more money as she works fewer hours to care for the child. And the difficulty is there is no choice. Because he is earning so much more than her, she has to be the one that takes more time off, and they can't share it equally or even decide that he will be the one that stays at home and looks after the child. So unequal pay is not just a matter of principle, it's also an actual matter about choice within families at home. And it is true that we have taken forward greater rights to paternity leave. We don't think that families are just about women. Families are about women shouldering most of the responsibility of the work of caring for young children and elderly relatives, but increasingly men want to share that responsibility, and we must make sure that the labour market and pay rates don't prevent them doing that. As far as equal pay is concerned, it is very important, I would agree with her, that it's difficult to tackle discrimination in pay, it's difficult to tackle unequal pay and make as much progress as we want to make when it remains hidden. And that's why I so much welcome our commitment that Whitehall departments will actually publish gender pay audits, and we can actually see what is happening in terms of pay rates. She's talked about considering the right to request flexible working and suggesting that everyone should be able to have the right to request flexible work. And this is argued, I know, amongst many, particularly the Equal Opportunities Commission, saying if everybody, not just those with children or disabled relatives or older relatives, if everybody was entitled to request flexible working, would this reduce the hostility of those without children or elderly or disabled relatives to those who have? My own view on this is that we have to recognise that it is a social policy imperative that there is good family care and support for children, disabled relatives and the elderly. And we have to argue that case to people and say, if you don't have those responsibilities, yes, you are freer at your work and can do more work than those people who are doing work on behalf not only of their own family, but society as a whole, in actually supporting and caring for elder relatives and bringing up children. And I don't think there's a public policy equivalence between flexible work in order to play a round of golf and flexible work to care for an older relative. So I don't agree with that line of argument myself. As far as affordable childcare is concerned, yes, we have made progress on childcare, but heavens above, we're just at the start of it. There is still many families tearing their hair out because they don't have affordable, high-quality childcare, flexible and available to them and their families. So we still have a long way to go, and we've got no doubt about that. She talked about interdepartmental working on violence against women. And I can say that we're considering merging together the Interministerial Group on Domestic Violence and the Interministerial Group on Sexual Offences to take an overall view about violence against women across government. She recommended that to tackle the problem on unequal situation of women's incomes and men's income in retirement, that we should simply just have as the criteria residence in this country rather than the contributory system. I have to say that my view is that I think that what we have to do is make sure that when people are working and they're going out to work and paid work, they can contribute, and that's recognised in their national insurance contributions, and also when they are staying at home caring for elderly relatives or disabled relatives or children, that too is recognised as a contribution and they are credited in. And I think the problem with our system is not that it's being contributory, but that the only contribution that is being disproportionately recognised is paid work. and not the unpaid work that women do, which is so valuable in their family, and that is the historic problem we've got. I would agree with her that overcrowding in women's prisons is particularly problematic and cruel for women who've got mental health problems and who are in prison having offended because they themselves have been victims of violence and sex abuse in childhood or that they have mental health problems. So we do have a very positive programme about women offenders, which, as I say, has been ably mapped out by my honourable friend, the Baroness Corston. She talked about the discrimination law review. I would say that there is absolutely no intention to have weaker legal duties. The question is to strengthen the role that the law can play in equality. And my final point is the point about the ratification. And I would say of the Human Trafficking Convention, that I have worked, when I was Solicitor General in the role that my right honourable and learned friend is now doing such a terrific job in. When I was Solicitor General, I worked with prosecutors in Brussels, prosecutors all around European countries. I worked with Interpol, and I can say to the honourable lady, there is what you sign, which is very important indeed, but beyond that is what you actually do. And it is a question of what you do with the demand side. We are talking about billions of pounds of serious and organised crime. Now, I'm in favour of ratification and implementation of any treaty of this sort, whatever, but I would say we have got some serious issues that we need to think about. What are we going to do about the demand side? Why is it a multi-billion-pound, lucrative, serious, organised criminal business? It is because men are paying for sex with exploited, trafficked girls. And I would put it to the House, we need to think about what we're going to do about this. And the question of whether or not and how we criminalise this sort of exploitation is something that we need to work on further. I know in Sweden they have tackled this problem by making paying for sex a criminal offence. So we've got to look at how other different countries try and deal with it.